Hey people, it's me again. Anyways, I hope you had a good New Year's. I mean, I pretty much did. So, I was in San Diego, and we didn't really do a whole lot. We just stayed home and then had dinner and stuff. But other than that, my New Year's was fun. I mean, pretty much fine. But I was just, all these little thoughts in my head. It's kind of difficult for me to do certain things because, anyways, since it's like the start of the year, um, that it's just like one of those kind of New Year's resolutions and all these other little things that you should do on New Year's and stuff like that. And I guess for me, I feel like I'm hoping as far as this year goes that I can do a whole lot more this year than what I did last year. I think I just spent the entire time arguing with dad on every little issue in certain cases because to me it's just dad hasn't gotten with the program that I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult right now, and he needs to treat me like an adult. Otherwise, he's going to end up being in a really bad retirement home, and I'm wondering why I hadn't called him in years, or or wonder why I virtually cut him off out of my life. And I kind of feel like I realize like the reason why I was just being all indecisive about everything is it's it, it feels like I'm just trying to satisfy everybody or virtually everybody in some shape or form. And even if there were some people that had to contrasting opinions about what I should do in life and all that, I still have to try to like do that. I mean, is there anything wrong with having too much compassion for others? Not really. But then I think I just feel like I'm just being too much of a people pleaser for that matter. And I feel like over the years I was trying to find my voice a little bit more. And I think it was up until like not up until like last year and maybe a few years before that where I started learn how to be a little bit more assertive on my own, at least just in the right level, not just being aggressive or callous in some ways where I was trying to be that assertive. But it's just one of those little things I have to explain to Dad a little bit later on. As far um, as far as everything else goes, it's just that I think I spent the majority of last year trying to convince Dad that I'm just not a kid anymore, and that my way is just as good as the other way is. It may not be the right thing, but at least I can actually get there. And somehow I think it's just if Dad was to stop backpedaling and all that stuff, then he should just realize like there's no real problem with certain things. It's probably better for me to do the online thing than go around being at a noisy little bar, noisy little club or whatever. Not that I never really liked being in those type of places that are like really crowded, and it just overwhelms me for that matter. And I think Dad just knows me well that I'm not going to be ever be used to that type of an environment. And then, nor do I actually ever really want to go around being like some sort of coworker or someone at school. It's just to me, it just brings a lot more problems than opposed to just keeping the whole relationships with coworkers just strictly professional relationships and that, even though mom and dad actually met at work, but however, to me, it feels like I just need everyone to kind of leave me alone and let me do what I want to do. I mean, I'm not really doing anything illegal or anything of that sort of illegal or unethical or that matter. I just want everyone, including dad and mom, to just stop trying to control my life all the time, And or it's just that for me, it's hard for me to let go of all these little feelings like that. Because especially if I got so used to that feeling of animosity towards mom and dad for that reason, and I think one of those other little shows that I like to watch sometimes is Wife Swap. I think it's just the comparing the difference of all these how these other families are, and then we usually have like one family that tends to be like too lean with the children, and then let the children run amok, and then the other family is like too strict to the point where that individuality is a four-letter word to them, and then they all have to make their children be robots, and instead of just realizing that each children has a right to be an individual and stuff, instead of just trying to make them be a perfect child, that's the whole story about it, and it's usually those type of families are usually the ones that are ultra stricter like that are usually tend to be conservative and they tend to homeschool their children because they don't really want to have uh, the whole thing the whole thing about safe sex and the gay agenda exposing their children or whatever, and then well, at the same time when they're trying to get creationism in schools and stuff, but that's another thing I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but it was kind of the other reason why I kind of hated being in school sometimes when I was younger. It was just, I think I clashed with the administrators because I was more of an individual person and I was kind of in your face sometimes. And the school administrators didn't really like me for that matter because I stood out like a sore thumb in some ways. Uh, I was just being an individual, and sometimes I think these school administrators at the time have to learn to accept that there are certain kids have the right to be an individual. They're not really doing anything wrong or anything to say the contrary, but they're just being who they are. That's the whole message with me. It's like, I'm just being who I am. I just want everybody to accept me for who I am. And not trying to change every little things, with like the slight little nuances and pointers and tips and all those kind of things. I'm basically happy with myself, so that's pretty much my video